Welcome to News Briefs. Today is Monday, July 28, 2025. Let's start with the situation in Gaza. It's incredibly complex, isn't it? These declared humanitarian efforts seem to be, well, clashing pretty starkly with the military realities on the ground.
That's right. Israel announced these daily humanitarian pauses, supposedly around 10 hours.
10 hours, yeah.
Yet reports from that very same day, July 28th, indicated attacks were continuing outside those pause times. Local sources were talking about, I think, at least 34 Palestinians killed. And aid agencies kept saying that things like airdrops, well, they just aren't solving the fundamental food crisis. Not really. We even saw, tragically, an attack near an aid distribution site. 7 people killed there. And another terrible incident, a pregnant woman died in an attack. Doctors did manage to save the baby, thankfully, but still.
It just highlights this profound gap, a really difficult disconnect between the announcements and what's actually happening. And we see a kind of echo of this disconnect in diplomacy, too, don't we? I mean, you had President Trump describing the images of children as terrible.
Yes, he did say that. But at the same time, the United States and Israel were conspicuously absent from a key UN meeting, a meeting specifically about the two-state solution.
Really? Absent?
Yeah. And Secretary General Guterres said, pretty bluntly, that the solution feels further away than ever. So it's a strange signal, isn't it? Expressing humanitarian concern, but then not showing up where those long-term political solutions are discussed. It points to a real tension there.
Okay, let's shift focus back home to the United States. There are some new developments on the immigration policy front.
Right. So some religious groups have filed a lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security. They're opposing IC actions near places of worship, like churches. They mentioned arrests happening even in parking lots.
In the parking lots.
Yeah, and they argue this is a reversal of previous policy, so it suggests a tightening of internal enforcement in certain areas.
But at the same time, there's also an effort to sort of facilitate entry for others, a different approach happening in parallel.
Exactly. The U.S. just signed an agreement of intent with Argentina. It's for the Visa Waiver Program, the BVP. Basically, it allows Argentinians to re-enter the U.S. for tourism or business without needing a visa each time.
And why Argentina specifically?
Well, the reason given is that Argentina has a low rate of people overstaying their visas. So you see this kind of differentiated approach to migration management. More control internally, perhaps, but then selective facilitation for external visitors based on specific criteria like overstay rates. It's a tiered system.
Okay, let's switch gears completely now. Technology, something affecting millions. Windows. We're getting close to that end of support date for Windows 10, October 14th, 2025. And Microsoft is, well, they're really pushing people towards Windows 11.
They are. They're offering a year of free extended security updates, ESUs. These are basically patches to keep older systems secure for a bit longer.
Okay, free sounds good.
But, and it's a big but, there are conditions, significant ones. You need a Microsoft account, you need their OneDrive cloud service integrated, and, crucially, your computer needs a TPM 2.0 security chip.
The TPM chip. That's the sticking point for many, isn't it?
It really is. TPM stands for Trusted Platform Module. Think of it like a dedicated security guard chip on your motherboard. And many older computers, millions of them, just don't have this specific chip, TPM 2.0. It creates a massive hardware barrier.
So for users, for small businesses, if they don't update or can't update because of this chip, what are the risks beyond the obvious security holes?
Well, Microsoft's strategy seems pretty clear. They want people on Windows 11, yes, for security, but also to integrate more of their services, more AI features. For you, the user, it's a tough spot.
Yeah.
You might face costs for new hardware, compatibility headaches, and definite security risks if you stay on an unsupported OS. But there's another angle often overlooked.
Which is?
The environmental impact. If millions of perfectly functional computers are just discarded because they can't run Windows 11 due to this one chip,
Right.
that generates a huge amount of electronic waste. That's a significant concern. On a slightly brighter note, I guess, Microsoft 365 is now compliant with EU data protection rules. So there's that.
Okay. From tech challenges to sporting triumphs, let's cover some big results from the weekend.
Definitely. In women's football, England won Euro 2025. They beat Spain on penalties after a 1-1 draw. And what's just phenomenal is this is the third consecutive major title for their coach, Serena Weigman.
Third in a row. Incredible. Just solidifying English dominance in Europe. Amazing achievement.
Absolutely, a masterclass.
And over in Formula One, the Belgian Grand Prix.
Yes, victory for Óscar Piastri there. He extends his championship lead. It was actually a McLaren 1-2 finish,
Yeah.
with Lando Norris coming in second. Piastri made a really key overtake on Norris on the Kemmel Straight.
So McLaren looking very strong.
Extremely strong. It really suggests the title fight might just boil down to being between those two McLaren drivers this season.
Interesting. And finally, UFC Fight Night, there is a big middleweight fight.
That's right, Reiner de Reer took on the former champion Robert Whittaker. And de Reer won by split decision. This is a really significant result that pushes de Reer way up in the rankings, makes him a serious title contender now.
Okay, big shifts there. Now let's change pace again and look at entertainment. Some interesting film news out of the U.S., maybe flying a bit under the radar compared to the big blockbusters.
Yes, the announcement of a film called Last Boys. It's an independent film focused on an African-American story, and it has a record budget, $51 million. What's really notable is that this funding is entirely from private capital.
$51 million, all private. Wow. And what's the story?
It's inspired by the life of Bilal ibn Rabah.
Mm.
He's a very important figure in early Islamic history, revered as the first muezzin, the person who calls Muslims to prayer. His story is one of resilience, faith, overcoming slavery. So the choice of subject itself tells you something about the kinds of narratives they want to bring forward.
And the ambition sounds huge, too. They're planning to raise $500 million eventually for books, sequels.
Exactly. The scale of the investment and where it's coming from outside the usual studio system, that's what's really fascinating here. It could signal, maybe, a new trend, big financial bets on diverse stories, aiming for major cultural impact, but using a completely different funding model. It's quite bold.
So when we look at everything today, the geopolitical tensions in Gaza, these shifts in immigration policy, the Windows tech dilemma hitting so many people, those sports highs, and then this audacious new film project. What does it all tell you? What's the connecting thread, if any?
Well, when you try to connect those dots, you see this interesting picture, don't you? You've got these stark humanitarian crises bumping up against diplomatic maneuvering or lack thereof. You have corporate tech strategies creating very real-world problems, including environmental ones. Then moments of pure sporting excellence celebration. And bold, maybe risky investments in telling different kinds of cultural stories. It paints a picture, I think, of a world grappling with really complex challenges, but also finding new ways to compete, to achieve, and, well, to tell its own story. Lots to think about there.
Definitely something to keep pondering. Until next time.